Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Honda Snowblower channel on YouTube. This is Anthony. Today I'm going to show you first part of this Honda HS928 restoration, pretty much from the ground up. I started this a couple days ago. This is what I started with. This is the chassis. Um, when I started with, I thought it had a bad final drive transmission gearbox. So it's been sitting out in the boneyard for a little while. Well, let me tell you something, folks. I think anybody can do what I do. I really do. I mean, except for maybe engine rebuilding or maybe the final drive gearbox rebuilding. It's really not super difficult. All you have to do is watch some videos. We have over 150 videos on our YouTube channel and hundreds of articles on our Facebook group, Honda Snowblower Enthusiasts. And I really believe this with all my heart. Anybody pretty much can do this stuff. Now, look at this. I mean, I got this from a guy. It had an engine on it in the bucket and everything. He was taking it to the dump. The final drive transmission wasn't working anymore. The engine wasn't starting. And I guess he said the heck with it. So he was gonna dump it, and fortunately, I was able to catch him before he brought it. So this is what I started with, and I'm thinking, well, it's really a parts machine, maybe I can rebuild the engine or if it needs it. The transmission gearbox is broken probably. So I started looking into it. Well, this is what I've got accomplished in about 2 days. I went through the engine. All I had to do was change the oil and clean the carburetor. I didn't even have to take the carburetor off. I cleaned it in frame. We have videos on that. Didn't take very long. 15, 20 minutes. I cleaned it out. Uh, Started it up. I mean, I checked the plug. Plug was okay. It had spark. Put some fresh gas in the gas tank, and it started right up. So the engine, this is a GX270. It's a 9 horsepower engine, and I've got a 28-inch bucket, so it's going to be a 928. Now on the chassis, I started inspecting it, of course. It didn't have any tracks on it. Let me show you if you can see this. It's kind of hard to see, but the seal came out. This is your hydrostatic transmission. Here's your final drive gearbox, which I'm going to drill a hole here and put a zerk in there, a grease zerk, and pump in some new grease. Let me show you. Some members put it up here. They'll put it on the top there. See, I made a mark for where I could drill and put a zerk on that. That way you wouldn't have to put it, you wouldn't have to put it up on its nose to pump in new grease every year. Well, anyways, I was inspecting the hydrostatic transmission. I seen that here's the seal on the shaft here. The seal was pushed out and the oil had leaked out. So all I had to do, I inspected the seal. It wasn't cracked or dried or anything. So I pushed it back in. And then, wait a minute. And then I put a hose clamp almost right next to it. Not that it's touching, but you can put some kind of clamp, either a two-piece clamp that goes over this shaft. We got a video on this too, on how to do this and bleed the system, because I had to add new oil in it, but you also have to bleed the system. And we have a video on how to do that. So I just put a little hose clamp around here so to keep the seal from popping back out. Once the seal starts coming out enough, it will start seeping oil out of it. I'm not sure if you can see the seal here. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a clamp. That's a hose clamp that's holding in the seal in case it starts pushing out again. So after I put in the new oil, excuse me, I put the new oil in. Let's see if I can find the plug. Oh, the plug's underneath this. The drain plug is underneath this. I put the new oil in here and then put it in the reservoir. There's a bleeding system that you do. After I did that, I started up the engine and put it in engaged. Right now it's in released. I put it in engaged and I put a belt on it, a dry belt, and it drives fine. So, I mean, what a bonus that was. I thought I was going to have to rebuild this gearbox. And it's a lot of work to rebuild. A couple hours to take it off. And then you have to, put new gears, new axle, drive axle, new gears. This is all, most of the stuff is new. I've rebuilt, I don't know, 12 or 15 of these. I lost count. It's not that difficult. It's just a lot of work. I mean, it's a couple hours to take it off the machine. And I think the parts were close to $200. The axle and the gear set and the gasket and plastic bushings. And then I got a new one of these. It's called a countershaft. The splines are so small that a lot of times they're worn out. So I had to get a new countershaft, which was a $22. But the parts came out to, I think, $150, $200 for the parts. It takes a couple hours to get this off, a half an hour to put the new stuff in it, and then the harder part is putting it all back together, which usually takes me a couple hours, two to 3 hours. The first time I did, I think it was like 8 hours. But I've done enough of these. I can do them a lot quicker now. But I thought I was going to have to do this, but now all I have to do is put a grease zerk in there and pump in some new grease. And the pedal works fine. I put some grease in the slots and the pedal works fine. And here's the bucket. So you can see that the bucket's going to need some surgery. I started cutting out. Here's a piece of bad metal I'm going to have to cut out. This is probably where the bucket came down about a half an inch past the slots all the way across. You can see I had to cut out this metal here. It was all curled up because the owner never kept your skid shoes adjusted. So the bottom of the bucket was scraping on the ground. So I'm going to cut this all out. Here's my master on the plate that I'm going to weld in. See, I use this as a master so I don't have to redo it every time. I can just cut out metal and then drill some holes and make the slots. So once I get this done, I can put it in here on the inside. I can line it up with the old slots and weld in the new metal. And if I have to, then I'll put some metal on the sides too. But otherwise, this bucket's not too bad. So that's what I'll do with the bucket. And this is called a service position where the machine's up on its nose. I mean, you can get a lot done in this position, like I just showed you with the pedal, with putting the grease zerk in, checking your seals on your hydrostatic transmission. I had to put new tracks. I put these on yesterday. New tracks, well, they're not brand new, but they're really, really good used tracks. Put them on. And also in this position, I did a little bit of touch up. I can lubricate my clutches, for your shoot and your drive. I lubricated this. I can check all the cables. I can make sure that the cables are okay. I can lubricate the cables. I can pull these boot off and spray some cable lube down there so the cables will move freely. Uh, I can lubricate under here. This is where your handle lock is. When you pull down your drive handle and your auger handle, it will lock, and the lock is in here, which we've shown before in different videos. You can take this cover off, and you can lubricate the ratchet, that locks the handle down. A lot of times, that's all it needs is some lubrication. So I can do a lot in this position. It took me a couple hours yesterday to put the tracks on and take care of all underneath the control panel. This is your control panel. So I did a lot in this position. I took the recoil starter off. It's only three little bolts. One, two, there's three. And I lubricated the springs that are inside here. So this pulls out and snaps back nice now. So there's a lot of work. Cleaned out the carburetor like I mentioned. Um, Let me think what else. Oh, today I'm gonna put the grease zerk in there and finish cutting out some of this bad metal, see? And then I'll take the bucket off and start working on the bucket, restoring the bucket, which takes a lot of time. I'm not a master welder. I'm not a professional welder, so it takes me time to do it. I've only been welding for a couple years. So this is the first part of the restoration on this HS928 Honda Snowblower. And when I'm getting when I get done with it, I'll have part two. So what I want to emphasize here, the reason for this video is to show you people what I like to do as a hobby. And I wanted to tell everybody, I said, this is something that almost anybody can do. I mean, I don't have, super special tools or anything. I got some metric tools. I do have a welder, but most of my tools, most people already have a lot of the tools that I use. So if you have a little bit of patience and some time and watch some videos, and you can pick yourself up a nearly junk machine. You don't have to buy a brand new Honda. You don't have to buy a used Honda that costs, $2,000 to $2,500. I mean, you can get a Honda, that's been left outside, or that's just been neglected. The owner just gave up on it because it wouldn't start. So, people give up on these machines all the time. You know, they won't start, they won't drive. It might only be a broken belt. It might just be a clogged up carburetor or some bad gas. So I just wanted to tell you folks that anybody can do this. You can find a machine, fairly cheap, $500 or less, even free, or a couple $100, and just go through the step by steps on what you need to do to restore it. I mean, we've got videos on how to service a four-part video on how to service the Honda Snowblower. So just watch each part. It says, okay, the first part is where you start off, and the second part, third, and just go through this machine step by step. It's all in our channel, folks, or our Facebook group. So you all can do it. So get to it, okay, folks? And we'll see you next time.